but the dismount, it was huge. Double layout, well above the high bar. Lots of airtime there. Perfect form and just plants it.
That 70 pounds never wavered on the landing. She stuck for a 9.825. Now Dominique Dawes, after the compulsories, in 6th place and beginning her climb up the standings. Defending all-round champion.
You know, Tom, not as crisp as we've seen Dominique on this event. One of her strongest events, just wasn't as explosive. Of course, she has a nagging injury to her wrist, doesn't really get the push off the horse that we're used to seeing. As a result, has some stumbles on the landing.
Well, you know, you're right, Elfie. When you're hurt, injured, vaulting, it's the most difficult event. You really can't generate that power that you need to do that great vault.
Here's Shannon's vault.
Well, she went for the more difficult vault, a higher start value, but then was forced to take an extra step, so that's a deduction.
All right.
Much more difficult because she does not do that round off onto the board. Can't generate quite as much power on this. Step on the landing. But because it's more difficult, this is going to get a bigger score, and it does, 9.95.
And that brings a rare smile to Shannon's face. There haven't been many after that fall on the balance beam. And that is where the leader, Dominique Moceanu, is now, with her parents looking on.
Elfie said it a little bit earlier. This title is basically one fall away, though. Anything can happen on the beam.
Dominique works this routine as we've seen her do all week in practice.
This is great.
You're in for a real treat, opening up with a very unusual mount. Getting set for her most difficult tumbling pass, the same skill that gave Shannon Miller such big problems.
Yeah.
Not from this one.
I think there's a grown-up trapped inside that 70-pound body.
Yes.
Take a look at the way she uses her upper body, in particular, her head, her hands.
Easy.
She is so poised and so confident on that 4-inch balance beam, and solid.
All right. Oh.
One would think she'd be a little bit apprehensive, just a little bit cautious, but not at all.
Such strength in all her moves. No way, Tim. She is taking charge of this routine. Just the dismount.
And now gone easy, easy. And stay. Holy cow.
You know, maybe she's too young to realize the pressure.
I think she's just doing what she does best. This is exactly what she's trained to do in all her practices. She went out there focused on the routine, and as we said before, she thrives on competition. She absolutely loves performing.
Good one. All right.
And this mount right here, it is all performance. It's maybe not quite as difficult, but it's just really darn cool.
Just taking a little walk down the balance beam. But the big skill of this exercise was this tumbling pass, starting with a back handspring, 3 consecutive layouts, totally in line with this beam, right on. Remember the move that gave Shannon such problems, but for Moceanu, no way.
9.85 on the balance beam. And that will keep Dominique in front. Now J.C. Phelps, who's making a bid for a medal.
If you're looking for another new face in Atlanta, I think it's this one, J.C. Phelps. I think she'll be there. She's also doing a new and more difficult floor exercise routine.
And Tim, new music. She's gotten rid of the classical stuff. She says this better suits her personality.
one of her new passes. It's awesome, a handspring double front. Oh, great.
This is a very difficult tumbling pass. You'd think she'd run the entire floor in order to get the height she needs on this double front, but she doesn't. What she said is, you only took 2 steps. How did you do it?
Well, she did it and gets a 9.825, and that will definitely put her in medal contention. Dominique Moceanu is just one event away from becoming the youngest U.S. all-around champion, sitting with Marta Karolyi. Only the floor exercise remains for Dominique. Here's another Dominique, Dominique Dawes, who has rallied from 6th place after the compulsories with a chance for a medal, her final event, the beam.
And Tom, hasn't this been a performance of her life this evening with all the injury problems? She's never once used them as an excuse, but to move up 3 spots at this championships, that really shows you the true strength of this athlete. Typically one of her strongest events, and you'll see why in a second. This is a skill that is her trademark. Should take the entire length of the beam. And a huge error. She basically missed the entire skill. She should have continued that right to the end.
You know, and it's funny, it didn't look like she was that off balance. It looked like she just stopped.
Back on track, very powerful punch front.
And you know, this event is probably the least demanding on her body. It's funny, sometimes you're so worried about injuries and where they're going to affect you the most, and they show up in a place where it shouldn't even be a problem.
She needs a whole lot of energy